Welcome back to another Kray video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any videos. And for people really into the Krays, join our private Facebook group, Krays Crime Lords of London, where you will find stuff probably unavailable anywhere else. We're an established group with a large membership, and best of all, we're friendly. The link is in the YouTube description section.
Hello, my name is Norman Lucas. I am a British crime journalist and author, known for my work covering high-profile criminal cases and gangland figures. I worked as a crime correspondent for the Sunday Mirror newspaper and wrote several books on true crime subjects. As a crime reporter for the Sunday Mirror, I covered significant crime stories in Britain. I had cultivated sources and contacts within the criminal underworld. Undercover, I worked my way into the inner circle of the notorious Kray twins to gather information for my reporting. Through my books and newspaper reporting, I provided the public with detailed accounts of some of the most shocking and notable crimes in British history, helping to shape public understanding of true crime and its perpetrators. I hope you enjoy my story. Hello and welcome back. We continue where we left off in the last episode, discussing gangs in Liverpool in the 1950s. Vengeance followed the execution of two killers, Edward Devlin and Alfred Burns, both 21. It all began one evening in August 1951. The all-night cafes in the rough parts of Liverpool were favourite haunts of gangsters. The price of a cup of tea bought a seat for the night, and a crook without a bed could put his head down and sleep for a few hours. These cafes were considered by the police to be veritable thieves' kitchens, and the planning centres for nearly all the crimes perpetrated by Liverpool's gangs. They were the rendezvous for gang bosses, their followers, prostitutes, and their protectors. On this particular evening, the two gangsters, Devlin and Burns, strolled into a cafe accompanied by two girls. Devlin and Burns were no strangers to each other. Despite their years, they had both been professional thieves and burglars for some time. They had served many periods in Borstal institutions, and Burns was actually on the run from an institution at Hull and was being harboured by Devlin. One of the girls present, June Berry, also 21, was living with Devlin. She introduced the two men to the other girl for the first time. She was Marie Milne, a 16-years-old waitress. Milne was there because Devlin had told June Berry that he wanted her to recruit a girl for a job that required the assistance of two girls. Speaking in near whispers, the two men told the girls that they had heard of a woman living in a little house in Wavertree who, it was said, had a hoard of money which, with some careful planning, could be stolen without much risk or difficulty. Any enthusiasm which Marie Milne might have evinced for the get-rich-quick scheme was vitiated as she realized it was all part of a criminal venture. The details of the projected operation were not discussed that evening, and the foursome broke up with Marie promising only that she would think about it. Devlin and June Berry went off together, and Burns took Marie Milne to a room he had booked earlier in the evening. The following day, the four travelled by train to Manchester, where Devlin and Burns were living. During the journey, the two men told the girls more about their plan to rob the woman, Mrs. Beatrice Rimmer, a middle-aged widow. June Berry positively refused to take any part in the affair, and Marie Milne, desperately frightened, stalled, although she did not definitely declare, as June Berry had done, that she would not participate. After the four had stayed in Manchester for a week, they returned to Liverpool, where Devlin, Burns, and Marie Milne visited another cafe. There they met a member of Devlin's gang, George McLaughlin, who had spent 11 of his 20 years in prison, approved schools, and Borstal institutions. At the age of 14, he was the youngest ever offender to be admitted to Walton Jail. Devlin and Burns told McLaughlin of their plan to rob Mrs. Rimmer. Marie was to keep watch in the street, and after making sure that Mrs. Rimmer was in, knock at the front door and keep her in conversation while the three men, McLaughlin was to be the third man, broke into the rear of the house. Marie Milne's further role was to get herself invited into the house so that she could stand between Mrs. Rimmer and the front door and so prevent the widow from running into the street for help if she got suspicious. The more Marie Milne heard of the plot, the less she liked it, but when she expressed her reluctance, Devlin pulled a knife from his pocket and threatened to cut her into little pieces if she didn't do as she was told. Scared though she was at the prospect of helping Burns and Devlin, she was even more terrified of what would happen if she told the police. The robbery was planned for the night of August 19th, but 2 days before, McLaughlin was arrested on a charge of housebreaking, a circumstance for which he was innately to be extremely thankful. Burns and Devlin decided to go ahead with the robbery, and during the evening of August 19th, the two men and Milne traveled in a taxi to a point near Cranbourne Street, where Mrs. Rimmer lived. The widow appeared to be out, and Milne was told to wait near the house for a short time and then go to a nearby cinema and wait outside until the two men joined her. Burns and Devlin broke the kitchen window, climbed into the house, and started their search for the store of money. Suddenly, while they were ransacking one of the downstairs rooms, they heard the sound of a key being inserted in the lock of the front door. The widow had returned from a visit to her son, an ex-policeman. As soon as she stepped into the tiny hall, she was attacked. A bunch of flowers she was carrying fell to the floor as the thugs rained blows on her head and face with a heavy piece of wood. She collapsed and was left to die. Burns and Devlin rushed into the street, raced past people standing at a bus stop, and halted at the cinema where Marie Milne was waiting. She realized at once that both men were scared stiff. Devlin repeatedly wiped his face with a handkerchief. Burns asked him where his knife was. He replied that he had lost it, and in a low voice asked, "Will the old woman live?" "To hell with the old woman," retorted Burns viciously. "We'll be out of Liverpool before long, and we'll take Marie with us." Marie Milne was horrified, and she became terrified when she noticed blood stains on the clothes of the two men. She refused to go to Manchester with them and remained in Liverpool. The following day, the body of Mrs. Rimmer was discovered by her son, and the hunt was launched by then Detective Chief Inspector Herbert Balmer for her assailants. A cemetery 40 yards from the widow's home was unavailingly searched for the murder weapon. Dry cleaners in the area were questioned about the blood-stained clothing they may have received, and the people who had been waiting at the bus stop were asked to come forward to help. Within 48 hours, Balmer had organized the questioning of no fewer than 500 people. But 2 months later, After the police had seen 8,000 people, there was an unexpected breakthrough. George McLaughlin, serving a prison sentence in Walton Jail for the housebreaking offence for which he had been arrested just before the Wavertree job, talked to other prisoners about the Rimmer murder. Within a few hours, he was ushered into the prison governor's office and into the presence of Chief Inspector Balmer. At first, he refused to talk, but finally he grasped. Liverpool police at last had something tangible to work on, and they started a hunt for Burns, Devlin, and the two girls. They found the girls first, June Berry in Manchester and Marie Milne in Liverpool. After listening to the story told by the girls, they quickly traced the taxi driver who had taken Devlin, Burns, and Milne to Cranbourne Street, knowing that the taxi driver would be able to identify the two killers. The police put out a general alert for the men, and within 24 hours, Devlin was arrested. 3 days later, Burns was inside. Both denied having any part in the crime, and at their trial at Liverpool Assizes, they pleaded not guilty. They maintained that at the time of the murder, they and another man had been robbing a warehouse in Manchester and had stolen raincoats, trousers, and other clothing. They claimed that they had taken the stolen goods to the home of a Mrs. Joan Downey, where the three of them had spent the night. Mrs. Downey totally denied the men's story. A third man, who gave evidence, declared that he had taken part in the warehouse robbery with the two defendants. But the evidence of June Berry, Marie Milne, and George McLaughlin convinced the jury of Devlin and Burns's guilt, and both were sentenced to be hanged. An appeal from the two killers was rejected, and the death sentence was about to be carried out when Miss Rose Hyliron, QC, who defended Devlin, produced a statement made by a 15-year-old girl, Elizabeth Rook. Rook, a kitchen maid, told a story of how she and June Berry had had a conversation in a girls' hostel in Liverpool, when June Berry was alleged to have said that both Devlin and Burns were innocent, and it was the father of June Berry's unborn child who had murdered Mrs. Rimmer. Miss Hyliron sought leave to call new evidence, but Lord Goddard refused to admit the evidence, and the matter became one for the Home Secretary, Sir David Maxwell Fyfe. Sir David appointed Mr. Albert, later Sir Albert Dennis Gerard QC, and Commander Harold Hawkyard of Scotland Yard to conduct a commission of inquiry to establish whether or not there had been a miscarriage of justice. The mass of evidence was reconsidered, and many witnesses were heard again. When June Berry was interviewed, she denied Rook's story, and the commission found that the man named by Rook as being guilty of the murder could not have committed the crime because he was nowhere near Liverpool on the night Mrs. Rimmer was killed. The commission finally reported that, in its view, there had been no miscarriage of justice, and the sentence of hanging was again confirmed. Before they died on April 25, 1952, Burns and Devlin reiterated their innocence. Sequels were to follow their executions. It had been Marie Milne's evidence that sealed the guilt of the two killers, and on the day they died, 8 of their friends in Borstal drew lots with matchsticks. The man who drew the shortest match, such a routine had been well practiced for many years by American gangsters, would be responsible for cutting Milne's throat. The potential assassin was James McMahon, aged 19, and as soon as he was released, he began searching for Milne. Fortunately, before he could find her, he was arrested on a housebreaking charge and sent back to Borstal. Marie Milne, however, did not entirely escape vengeance. She was found semi-conscious one night in a back alley in Liverpool. She had been beaten up and had to have 30 stitches in her wounds. A few days after June Berry had given evidence to the commission. She too was beaten up in one of the all-night cafes. She took 6 more similar beatings. Later, she went to London to undergo plastic surgery, which it was thought would enable her to move about unrecognized by the Liverpool gangsters. But when she returned, thugs who belonged to the Devlin Burns gang found her, and she was once more attacked. George McLaughlin was assaulted several times in prison for grassing, and in desperation persuaded the prison governor to place him in solitary confinement for his own protection. When he came out of prison, he suffered more beatings by gangsters. Mrs. Joan Downey, who had refused to corroborate the story of the warehouse robbery designed to give Devlin and Burns an alibi, had her home fired. As long as 4 years after the trial, Mrs. Joan Dudley, who had been a minor prosecution witness, accepted a lift in a car one evening and was shot and dumped in a road in Blackpool. She recovered in hospital. The taxi driver who gave evidence that he had taken Milne and the 2 men to Cranbourne Street did not escape the vengeance of the gang either. He too was beaten up in a dark alley. A number of other witnesses received threatening letters and were given police protection for some time, but 5 years elapsed before all the witnesses felt safe from the wrath of the gang. Thus, on a smaller scale, Liverpool became a replica of Chicago's gangland. It was cruder and much less lethal, but above all else, it was a picayune enterprise in terms of financial gain, whereas in Chicago's underworld, the stakes ran into millions of dollars. The take in Liverpool's criminal activities was invariably a matter of a few pounds. The young detective standing with me at the bar was a member of Scotland Yard's Dirty Squad and the section in the Yard's central office which deals with obscene publications. We had arranged to have a brief pre-Christmas drink in a basement club that would have been within earshot of a policeman's whistle blown in Greek Street, Soho. It was December 10th, 1954. Our conversation revolved generally around the boom in the sale of crudely produced books, some of little more than 40 or 50 typed and duplicated pages stapled together, and carrying such titles as What She Had to Give, The Trio in the Bedroom, and The Sex Chain. Many had been smuggled into the country from Sweden and Australia and were readily bought from dingy bookstalls in Soho by teenagers and mentally sick or physically frustrated men of middle age. I mentioned to my officer friend the address of some premises where I had been told the Yard would find large supplies of such publications. "I think your snout, informant, is a bit late with that info," said the young detective. "We raided the geezer who keeps that shop 2 weeks ago and made a big haul of gear. He appeared in court and was fined." I shrugged. "My little man says that the place would still be worth a visit." As he finished his gin, my friend said, "We'll get another search warrant and go in tomorrow. I'll give you a ring after the raid." And the call in due course came to me at the office. The Dirty Squad had captured another big haul. The shop owner made a second court appearance and was once again fined. He had left the court as cheerfully as he did on the first occasion. He knew that no magistrate could impose anything other than a fine upon him, and that his profits were such that they could easily absorb these legal expenses. When my detective friend had left me, I was joined at the bar by an attractive brunette, whom I had noticed sitting alone at a table while we had been talking. Her greeting was a perfunctory, "Hi." She stood on my left and turned her head to the right to look at me. The mirror behind the row of bottles on the shelf in front of me gave me her picture. Her hair was neatly dressed and was topped by a chic brown fur hat, which matched her fur coat. Her nose was small with an attractive tilt, and her lips parted to release a husky invitation. "Can I buy you a Christmas drink?" I smiled. "Just for Christmas?" She didn't miss the note of interrogation, and she was fast to catch on to the reason. "It's okay, sweetie. I know who you are," she responded. "You've been pointed out to me before in various dives. I suppose you thought I was making a play for a client." It had not been difficult to discern a faint Geordie accent in her speech. I raised my glass. "Everything you want for Christmas," I said. I guessed that she had had her face for something around 28 to 30 years, but it had done a lot of living, and the lines added another 5 to 10 years. Her lower lip was prominent, the top one thin, and the excessive lipstick she had used to accentuate the upper lip merely fixed the street girl label more securely upon her. "Pretty cold outside," I said, thinking that even the dive we were in, with its garish wallpaper patterned with coloured and white girls performing erotic dances, its pocket handkerchief-sized dance floor of red linoleum squares, and the hideous black masks peering from dimly lighted corners, was inviting by comparison. She tossed back the rest of her scotch. "I wonder if you realize just how cold it can be in our business." The barmaid hovered, and I ordered her a second drink. "Just for Christmas?" "Yes," I said. "I can imagine." During my years in the newspaper business, I've done a lot of hanging around when the weather has not been in my favor. One of the girls, French Josie, died last week. She was only 28. That's tough, yes, really tough. Her eyes were sad, as well as tired, and she stroked the replenished glass with the index finger of her right hand. Tuberculosis, and they were going to bury her in a pauper's grave. But we wouldn't have that, so we paid a couple of quid a head and got her a decent burial. £2. That's no more than we pay each time we're dragged before the beak at Bow Street, she said. I looked at her curiously. London's prostitutes never ceased to surprise me. They could be vicious. They could be as tough as the ponces who lived off them. Or they could be as soft-hearted as a doting mother with a child. "Who looks after you?" I asked. There was a momentary flash of something in her eyes, a mixture of indignation, rebellion, and perhaps pride. "I look after me," she replied. "And nobody's ever going to live off me, that's for sure." "Don't you find the going tough sometimes?" I asked her. "You mean with those bastards who run some of the girls?" "That's right," I said. "I manage," she replied. Her name was Renee. Her background was conventional for a woman of her type. She was around 19 when the war ended in 1945. Her father had served in the Royal Navy, and while he was away, her mother became involved with a United States Army corporal. The mother vanished, and Renee was cared for by her father's mother. She became restless, and when her father returned home at the end of the war, Renee resented the discipline he tried to impose upon her. She haunted dance halls and clubs in Newcastle, and finally, her late nights brought about her dismissal from her job as a typist. Accompanied by a girlfriend, she headed for London and the bright lights. They both obtained work as hostesses in a West End club, which was the beginning or the end for Renee. She saw the easy way of making money and took it. So did her friend. At first, they shared a flat in Soho, but later, her friend moved into the flat of a Maltese who became her minder. As an independent operator, Renee belonged to a small minority of prostitutes working in central London. That's all for this episode, my friends. In the next part, I will be discussing the Messina family, the notorious criminal organization of 5 brothers, Eugenio, Attilio, Carmelo, Alfredo, and Salvatore, who dominated the London vice trade from the mid-1930s through to the 1950s. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please join our Facebook group. It's called Krays Crime Lords of London. We're a friendly moderated group with over 1,000 Kray and other celebrated gangster videos available for view. There's also thousands of images in the photos sections. The link for the group is in the YouTube description section. I hope we see you there soon.
Leave a like and subscribe.